I'm married to your mother.
Hannah, are you like a vacuum cleaning robot or what?
No, I'm dad vibes.
This is Pop Etymology. I'm Russell Perkle.
I am Hannah, and I'm also on the podcast.
And what do we do on this podcast, Hannah?
On this podcast, we talk about how modern pop music, and sometimes some less modern pop music, affects the modern American lexicon.
Sure, and vice versa, and how one is kind of an indicator for the other, right? And
It's
I think
difficult to have music without language, yes.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, very, very few songs in pop music I think are completely wordless. Now I'm sitting here trying to like think of one as quickly as possible just to impress our listeners. But
I was going to say Beethoven.
yeah, sure. I mean,
Swoosh!
I bet that was pretty popular. But I mean, who's to say there were no lyrics back then to the Beethoven?
Exactly.
It's like those Greek and Roman statues where we just think of them as like white marble, but actually they were painted, you know?
Ready for a piece of trivia about Mozart?
Sure, let's hear it.
His most popular work at the time was, in fact, a work with lyrics. The title was Lecke meine Arsche, which is German. I know we covered German cognates last week, but it's German for lick my butthole.
Now, would you say that's like the opposite of a dad joke? That's like an immature preteen joke or something?
It's not even a joke, though. It's a fact.
Is it a fact?
It's a literal fact. I would not lie to you, Russell.
No, I mean like him
And more
saying that
importantly,
he's
if I
not.
were to lie to you about Mozart, I would come up with something way better than Lecke meine Arsche.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your best Mozart line. Go.
Oh my God! Did you know that Mozart invented the toasted marshmallow?
No kidding.
Yeah, I am kidding.
Oh. No. But what I was saying was like him saying that he's like it's a funny joke that like made this this like really profane title for my song, but it's like a Beavis and Butthead level
Yeah,
title,
he and his cousin, his first cousin actually, throughout their life, they had a very infantile sense of humor, and they have tons and tons of letters that were exchanged throughout their lifetime. This really juvenile, aha, I'm gonna lick my butthole. You should lick your own butthole. I'm not gonna lick my butthole. It's really it makes you think about Mozart in a very different way.
So you think this was like not like a command, like "Hey, you lick my butthole"? It's like a
It was more of an
biographical.
invitation, actually.
Oh, an invitation. I see. And that song today, the Wedding March. So yeah, it actually that segues pretty nicely into the song we did today. What did we do today, Hannah?
Today we covered a little known song called Dad Vibes.
Yeah, so equally
By
mature, austere, lofty, I suppose, song that will for sure be a classical hit where they've removed the words from it and people are just studying it in
I
their
feel
fine arts
like
survey.
a dick. Can I give that another run at it because I forgot to say Limp Bizkit.
Oh no, say it now. So
Dad Vibes by Limp Bizkit.
there we go. There it is. And Hannah, what is this song exactly like?
That is such a good question. It seems on its face to be an anthem about giving up being super cool and just being a dad. Because being a dad is cool enough.
He's yeah, I guess so. I mean, but to me, he's really doubling down on the like I'm cool. I think at least 85% of this song is him saying why he's a cool dad, don't you think?
So in my mind, it sounds ironic, but that's because I'm an eternal optimist.
I do not think he is being ironic. Well, let me ask you this: like, do you think this song is better or worse than Limp Bizkit's oeuvre from the aughts.
Okay, so I am going to confess something to you. Limp Bizkit was never in my mixtape CDs.
Yeah, we just live in two different worlds, Hannah.
It's crazy. I remember having LimeWire, and I never ever remember seeing the phrase Limp Bizkit. I don't even know what Limp Bizkit means.
I don't think it
Does
means
he ever
much.
explain?
I'm sure he's explained it somewhere, but I don't think the explanation is worthwhile or meaningful.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure, just like corn or something, they just thought of a word that they thought seemed kind of like
who the
ironic
hell is
and
corn?
weirdly.
I'm kidding. I know about corn.
It's like I think it's like they want a word that's like weirdly like meaningless and kind of like negative, like they're like down on
Mm.
themselves or something. You know what I mean?
Proposal. Limp Biscuit is when you dip a shortbread cookie into tea just really quickly.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it absorbs a little bit
sure.
of the tea, but
Little
it's
known fact,
ultimately just a
uh,
limp biscuit.
that makes a lot of sense because little known fact, Fred Durst actually grew up in Liverpool, England. He
Oh,
did not. I don't know where he
oh.
grew up. In fact, I have no idea if that's wrong, but despite having no idea where he grew up, I can 100% say that that's definitely not true.
Pop etymology. We'll lie about your favorite stars.
If Limp Bizkit is your favorite star, you're probably not listening to a podcast called Pop Etymology.
Speaking of lies about your favorite stars, did you know I have a list of your favorite early aughts musicians and an answer to the question whether or not they are dads now?
Really? Okay,
I
good
shall be
teaser there.
sprinkling them in as we go. I do not. Do I have Fred Durst? Oh, you would know about Fred Durst.
You have not actually researched whether or not Fred Durst is a dad?
It sounds like
Don't tell
something that
me.
I.
But you have to tell me whether or not you know, but do not tell me such that I know.
I am like 80%.
What?
I am
How
like
hard is this
80%.
information to find? As his
I
child?
was so excited by all of these bands that I did recognize from my early odds mixtapes.
I think if Fred Durst has a daughter or son out there, they are probably not wanting anyone to know that they are Fred Durst's child. I think they're like hiring one of these companies to like push down like the opposite of a search engine optimization to like push down the results that
Oh my
say that they're
gosh,
Fred
it's the
Durst's
ultimate
son.
embarrassing dad.
Absolutely. I mean, this song, it's like the ultimate like embarrassing dad song. Like I think in some way this song is such a great like merger of form and function, because it's about like this lame, cool thinking dad thing, and it is that.
hmm It's very it's more suburban than even the early aughts music that I listened to. Like you can definitely picture a suburban dad mowing the lawn to this song.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it will happen as well. Now,
Mhm.
like you said, you weren't really that into Limp Bizkit, but I think this is, these kind of micro generational things because I think new metal, this like
Mhm.
genre they're in, it was actually a fairly narrow band of time, like in the early aughts,
Mhm.
maybe 5 to 8 years span, and this was definitely the years in which I was like a music listener forming my opinions about music, and
Oh yes.
like this description you had of Fred Durst is like I don't know, the kid like smoking like clove cigarettes behind the vending machine or whatever at school. I don't know.
Yes, yes, that is how I described him. He was smoking clove cigarettes under the bleachers well, now that I know that he grew up in Liverpool, England, the football
Yeah,
pitch.
what do they call bleachers in Liverpool, England? This got to be one of those words that somehow different from
Ooh,
American English,
bleachers, but
you
with a
know.
U.
Yeah, yeah. Bleach wars. But like that was me. Like I was Fred Durst when I was a kid. It's like
No, get out.
we were like crawling into little spaces in our school to smoke our cigarettes, and like wearing like these what do they call them, like long shorts,
Oh my
and
gosh, the board shorts.
yeah, dreaming of when we could get a tattoo, and you know dyeing our hair different colors, and all this kind of stuff. Like this was mainstream culture, back in
Mhm.
this very, very short period. We were all just like kind of dirtbags.
I feel that. I was on the tail end of that era when we had like the emo music coming out. So I was like I just feel like you bared your soul, and it's only fair that I also bear my embarrassing high school stuff. We were lots and lots of under eyeliner, lots and lots of. I never went scene, but I did have friends that had the scene hair and the graphic T-shirts. I One of my friends used to print out a different meme in the school library every day and tape it to his shirt.
Oh, so cool!
So
Wow, I want to
yeah,
be that kid's friend. Do you think we can get them on the
revolutionary,
podcast?
right?
Call them up. We'll add them. We'll three-way this.
I'm sure he's doing like much more successful
Oh,
things than
you're
I
right. He's
am right
probably really
now.
busy.
He's
Yeah.
probably gonna let me go to voicemail.
I mean, yeah, that level of upkeep to like print out and tape a new meme each day to your shirt. He's probably doesn't have a lot of free time for people like us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just the free time. I'm sure he's doing like he's inventing shirts that change meme based on your mood or something.
Yeah, yeah, or like they change meme based on the trend, right? So like,
Mm.
the memes they stop being funny so quickly these days.
Oh my god, we need to put a TM on that.
Yeah, true. TM.
TM, 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 TM.
Now, okay, we got the TM on it. Now we have to figure out how to invent that. If anybody knows anything about t-shirt technology, hit us up.
We will share 15% of the profits.
Yeah, and and we will send you one t-shirt that you invented. So let's do a couple things real quick. So um, just give me like a outline. What did you research connected to this song?
So, aside from which celebrities and musicians are dads now.
Which celebrities, excluding Limp Bizkit, are dads? Yes,
By the way, Travis Barker.
I know it. I know. I won't say, but I know. Um,
Oh, yes. Come on, share with the group.
he's a dad. He's a dad.
Yeah,
I
he's got
know
2
for a fact
kids.
he has some kind of kids. I don't know why I know that. I just know it. So
Oh,
one of those
okay.
guys. I think he's somehow so weirdly famous, right? Because it's like he
Hmm.
there are people who were bigger names, like bigger people in the history of emo rock in general, and yet somehow I think everybody really knows Travis Barker really well. And
Okay.
now he's really kind of like going, and he's drumming on like everybody's music. Like one of my favorite new songs, Willow Smith, like Will Smith's daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
She became like kind of this weird like punk alt rock musician this year and made an album, and Travis Travis Barker's drumming on her album, and Machine Gun Kelly's weird emo phase, which seems to, even though I don't like it, it's definitely a much better choice for him than being
Mhm.
a really not very good rapper. Travis Barker's drumming on that, and so on.
Okay. Alright, here's probably one that you won't know.
Okay.
Yellow Card's Longtion and Parsons.
I don't even know who that is. I vaguely know who Yellow Card is because they were the guy that played the violin really, really, really fast.
Yes,
But
Longtion and Parsons is actually the drummer, I believe. Um, guess whether he's a dad.
I can't picture this man or anything. I'm gonna say that in some weird twist, he's taken like a vow of celibacy, and he's in some strange cult in which everyone has to only communicate using yellow cards. So no, he's not a dad. He's been castrated for religious reasons.
Wow. Okay.
Was that right?
Um, Sorry, Longino Parkins is this guy.
Okay.
And no, he is not a dad. But when he was a little kid, he and his dad had the Longino Parsons Ensemble because he's Longino Parsons the third, and his dad is Longino Parsons the second. So when he was a baby kid, they had the Longino Parsons ensemble, and I think that's charming.
Yeah, it's a little charming. All right, so let's save some of those for later. So
Yes.
uh, beyond this dad research you did, what else did you research for today?
Well, one of the things that you hear in this song quite often is the phrase la di da. So I did research on the phrase la di da. Are you ready
Yeah,
to have your mind blown? Or
yeah, I
are
am, but let's save it for just a minute. But yeah, I will say up top, I'm very fascinated by this because it's one of these things that it's in the language and it's so subtle and unassuming that I never even crosses my mind like it's an actual phrase.
mm,
It'd be like if someone were to tell me the origins of or something or wow or something. It's
right.
really amazes me that this is anything because it's like it's one of these things you don't even give it a second thought.
Oh, I was afraid that this was going to be a boring vein that goes absolutely nowhere, but it's such a rich vein of etymological nuance. I love this vein.
So we'll get to that. For
Mhm.
myself, I researched the word vibe, right? Because
Yes, tell us.
very strange and interesting word there. So I guess we have a pretty good idea of what this song is about. It's a dad bragging about how cool he is as a dad, right?
Speaking of Montel Jordan, dad or not a dad,
I don't know
this
who
is
that
how
is.
we do it.
Okay, yeah, he's a dad because he tells you right there in the song that he's doing it. So he gives you the
Oh,
instructions and everything. So he seems to know what he's doing. So yeah, I think he's a dad.
yep, dad of four.
Yep, there you go. Um, so this song though, there's for the most part we have things about his swag, his drip, just generally how cool he is. But there are a few lines here that they're a little odd that I thought we should go try to crack the code ourselves, crack this Dad Vinci code. So one of them, he says that he's riding in on a rhino, and
Yes.
I don't get I are we just to take that literally? Is this like, are we to be like fundamentalist Limp Bizkit um, text readers here and just to presume take him at his word that he really has a rhino he's riding in on?
Well, I believe that if we're really putting on our etymology hats right now, that we cannot separate the song from the period of time in which we hear it, or in which it's written, rather.
Sure, it's a good point.
Um, what is the most recent use of the word rhino?
The Ninja Turtles movie? I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say Republicans in name only.
Yeah, I knew it meant
Yeah.
something. Sure. So you feel
Yes.
like, yeah, that's such a dad thing, right? To suddenly become kind of weirdly conservative. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Riding in on a well, not to get too political, but a Republican in name only. Perhaps somebody who was trying to get into the HOA, or I don't understand why you would want to be a Republican in name or in uh, name only.
Well,
Uh,
let's stop on the right there on the border of getting too political. But yeah, I think that's absolutely. It is very interesting that he's uh, saying that he himself is he has this like Republican vibe, but just in name.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
which I think it's a very it's there are much worse spaces to inhabit. So now he also talks about everybody bouncing with the franchise.
Ah, yes, yes. Now, to bounce is, I believe, to leave a club. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, can mean that, sure. So he's saying everybody get out of the club and go
Yeah.
to McDonald's or some franchise?
Everybody get out the car. We are getting Happy Meals.
Yeah, sure. That's a very dad
Hmm.
move or like a Chili's or something, right? It's
Yeah.
maybe
Not,
Applebee's.
yeah, they're not going to like the local. They're probably traveling.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
probably in like coming home from soccer practice and they just want something easy. Everybody get out of the car. We're going to KFC.
Yeah, you're
Ooh, let's
absolutely
get sponsored by KFC.
right. I don't see that happening based on this episode.
No, you're a vegetarian. I don't eat meat.
So, I'm not quite sure what the distinction is there, but okay. You're a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I just kill the animals for fun. So, in that way, I'm not a vegetarian. That's what's going on here? Is this?
I
Is
don't
it?
want to commit to a lifestyle, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah. Sure. Of course. Of
Mhm.
course. Yeah. Um. Okay. So he says he has the drip, right? And we'll
Mhm.
talk about that later. But we've established, at least I know what it means, and so that's all that matters. But then he says to come
Really?
and get a sip. And I'm a little curious about this phrase.
Okay, what is the phrase?
Okay, so he's saying he's back with the drip. Okay, come and
I
get a
think
sip.
I don't know what the drip means. Is that when you have like a little bit of a cold left?
Are you suggesting that someone should come sip that?
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, so back with the drip, come and get a sip. So drip, what does drip mean?
Okay, so I will explain again later, but for up top here, I'll let you know. So drip just generally means like you're like kind of dressed in a kind of flashy way. It literally is this idea that if you have diamonds that are shining on your necklace or whatever,
Ah.
the shininess looks like it's wet. It looks like something wet, and the light's reflecting off of it. Because of that reason,
So this
so
is
this
what
idea of
rich
drip
D
is
and
like it looks so wet that it's like dripping. So this is drip.
so this is what rich D&D parents do when their kids are like bugging them for their allowance. They're just like, "Oh, okay, Damien, here's a diamond."
These are rich Dungeons and Dragons parents? What?
I mean, who else walks around just wearing diamonds? I mean, it's
I'm
not like
so
you can
puzzled by
pay
this.
for anything in diamonds. If you
Oh,
can't
okay.
go to
So you
McDonald's
figure you
with
figure you
a
beat the
diamond
dragon.
and say you figure it out.
You beat the dragon. Your dungeon master is one of those weirdos that like doesn't just convert everything to gold pieces for you. So you got like 10 amethysts, like 2 jades, a bunch of quartz, and you're like, okay, kid, just come get a sip of this. Get a little
That's a
jewel. Yeah, you're
There it
absolutely
is.
right. I mean, that is probably the coolest dad is a Dungeons and Dragons dad.
Absolutely. As somebody with a Dungeons and Dragons dad, Dungeons and Dragons dads are the best.
Yeah, it's great. I mean,
Mhm.
Dungeons and Daddies, great podcast.
Oh
Um,
my god, best podcast. You guys should listen to Dungeons and Daddies.
yeah, turn this off. Listen to that instead. I mean, we haven't even started talking about anything yet.
Probably the
But
only reason they're listening to this is they're all caught up on Dungeons
yeah,
and
they're
Daddies.
waiting. They're
I
waiting for
am.
the new one to drop. We're right there with you guys.
Hurry up, Anthony Birch!
Okay, so let's talk about this word vibe, right?
Mhm.
So dad vibes in this sense. First, I'll kind of start off in a roundabout way and just say, this word um, has had a really big resurgence lately, like in the last,
Mhm.
let's say, 5, 10 years. This is really a 20 teens word, you know,
Mhm.
because of course we used to say it in the 60s or something, maybe the 70s as well, but I don't really think there are a lot of people saying vibe unless they're saying it ironically between that like 60s to 70s period to the 2010 to
Really?
2015. Yeah,
Okay.
not so much. I mean, here and there a little bit, but certainly now this like association with hippie culture or so on, it's kind of disappeared. If people say
Mhm.
now like we're vibing or it's a good vibe or something like that, we don't really think,
Yeah.
oh, what a hippie. You know?
Yeah, you did, also, supply that supplemental listening, material.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
and I will come around to that because I think first we kind of need to know the foundational history of the phrase. So it seems as if this word kind of rose to prominence in the 1960s. But first, I keep backtracking on myself. So let's talk about the word itself real quick. All right, so this word vibe. Uh, Starting
Vibe.
in 1940s, this word was actually short for vibraphone, this instrument, right?
Oh.
But of course, that's not too important. But it's interesting to note that that word vibe was kind of in common speaking before it kind of came to its modern meaning, modern idea, which of course is short for vibrations.
Now, real quick condemnation of the American public school system, but what the fuck is a vibraphone?
I mean, I think it's like if you put your phone on silent and it just vibrates when someone calls you. I
Mm.
think there you got a vibraphone.
Oh, and people used to dance to that?
No, nobody said anything about dancing. What are you talking about,
Oh, okay.
Anna? Pay attention. um, so, so this word vibration comes from a Latin word.
Hmm.
This Latin word, we can say vibratio from the verb form vibrar or vibrari. There is a kind of a Proto-Indo-European, this like kind of root language or group of languages that we talked about last time that came before Latin, before
Hmm.
Sanskrit, before the Slavic languages, etc., and kind of had at least some part to play in the roots of each of these things. This originally came from a word, something like vape or vipe, meaning either to turn or to tremble. So all these words essentially mean the same thing it does today, just to vibrate.
Okay.
Um, One interesting diversion or tangent here, we also have, of course, this word vibrant, which is from the same root, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's the same root? I
yeah,
thought
sure,
that
of
was just
course.
a coincidence. What's the linguistic link?
Well, the linguistic link is kind of this idea that if something is vibrating, we think of it as being full of energy, right? So this idea
Hmm.
that it's very energetic. So a vibrant color, in the same way as a thing vibrating, is just very full of life, very energetic feeling. It's an interesting thing to kind of bring up because I think that in our use of the word vibes or good vibes, I think that we get this same kind of like logical leap there where you have this idea of vibrations and this idea of energy kind of mixed together.
That's very, very interesting because whenever anybody posts like good vibes only, you get this very pastel feel about it.
Oh yeah,
Not
I
so
didn't think
much
about
of.
this good vibes only phrase as well. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very interesting. So in the original form, it seems to be it's very hard to say, of course, in any of these cases. Like the root is definitely this, but there was a Beach Boys song, "Good Vibrations," which was released in 1966, and
I
around
almost
this
made
same
that the
time.
opening joke.
Yeah, what's a good vibrations joke? I have no trouble imagining one.
I said almost. I never finished it.
Oh, okay, yeah, you couldn't work out. There was no joke to be had, I guess.
No, I just woke myself up at 2 a.m. and just said, "That's genius. I need to do it." So
And maybe one day we'll get a good recording of that so we can actually use it. It's like this mythological, like untellable joke. It's like
oh damn.
it's like there's that movie The Aristocrats, which is about that one like really like raunchy stand-up comedy joke. Have you heard of this movie?
I've heard of the joke and I've heard of the
Yes.
movie.
Same. Not actually seen the movie. But I think
No
there's
interest.
I no, same. But I think there's a potential similar concept so that like you could have this whole movie about this like dad vibration noise with your mouth joke that like no one's ever caught on tape, you know. So anyways, this song Good Vibrations though, so to hear the two writers, Brian Wilson and Mike Love. Brian Wilson, one of the main songwriters for the Beach Boys. Mike Love, one of the main singers.
Mhm.
Don't email me on that. I think I'm more or less correct, but who knows exactly. They kind of tell this story. It's pretty similar, but with some little differences to it. Essentially, Wilson says it was his mother. Mike Love says it was his cousin's mother, so Mike Love's aunt, was talking about how dogs can pick up vibrations or hear vibrations because they hear higher pitched noises than normal people,
Oh,
and they use this to kind of, you know, tell if a person is a good person or not, right? So
is that why in the song they go up that octave?
yeah, sure, it's a song for dogs. Yeah, absolutely,
Mm.
must be it. Yeah. So they have this sense of it, and it's interesting too because even that does not exactly fit the concept of vibrations as we have it now. Obviously, when we
Mhm.
say like I'm getting good vibes or something, we're not really talking about, uh, vibrations that only a dog can detect exactly. We're not referring
Right.
to dogs whenever we talk about it. But if you look at the song lyrics themselves, like he says, "I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me excitations, like she's making me excited." And to me, this song seems to be talking more about like getting chills or getting shivers, kind of
Mhm.
feeling a thrill. And so,
Yeah.
so to me, I don't really buy that this is exactly the root of this phrase. Like I
Okay.
think obviously there's some convergence happening there, but for me, I,
Purely
I think it's one of these
coincidental.
things where it's like they think back later to what the song was about when people ask them about it. They kind of half remember, half make up like a good explanation for it, and kind of tie it to the trends of the time.
Okay.
But one more thing. So in um, in Hindu culture, and I'll preface this by saying I don't know a lot about this kind of stuff, so please excuse me for all the things I get wrong here. But there is a word, vipra, Vipra. And this seems to mean a lot of different things. This is kind of one of their statuses for religious people, meaning like a healer or someone like deeply inspired or wise or whatever. Um, but this comes from a root, VIP, similar to this Proto Indo European root, meaning to shape, right? So,
Oh.
so again, we're back to
So
this idea of,
the VIPs are the movers and the
oh
shakers.
yeah, you're right. It all really connects together. We should see if there's
There's
some like,
really only one language, you guys.
yeah, just I mean, I just go to China, just talk to them. It's not that hard. It's all the same language.
Just talk louder if they don't understand you.
And vibrate more. I mean, they're probably just not. They're not picking up your vibrations. You got to talk in a higher pitched voice. And so, of course, again, we see this kind of conflation of vibration and energy. You know, and
Mhm.
in Hindu and in Hinduism and in meditation in this kind of New Age yoga culture as it's come here to the United States, and now I can finally talk about it a little bit more comfortably because I can say, okay, we're talking about the kind of yoga that we think of in America. So
Right.
probably
We're
in
talking
many
about
ways,
Hindu culture through a purely American filter.
right. So we're talking about white mom yoga, right?
Yes.
Uh, which oddly enough, of course, because we're dealing with a song about a white dad, so very
Hmm.
interesting merging of the cultures there. But there's this word om, right? Which the point of this word om, where you say like om,
Hmm.
is to try to vibrate at the same frequency as the universe, right? And so,
I think my Hindu coworker describes it as the sound the universe makes.
yeah, exactly right.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of kind of very specific information about this that I won't really go into, but again, you kind of generally get the sense that this idea of vibrations is spiritually very important, at least to the New Age yoga or Hinduism inspired culture that has risen in the United States around the 1960s or so,
Hmm.
right? So this seems to be more or less the starting point of this word vibe as a concept here.
I
Now,
like that.
just to come back around to what's it like in modern day when we say vibe, you know. Because we use it in a lot of different ways now. I say we as if I'm a young person who's actually using young person slang. I don't think I've ever said vibe myself, but
Fun fact, I used to work in a sex shop. I said vibe all the time.
oh, is it like a good short term for vibrator, so you don't have to keep saying
Yup.
vibrator over and over again?
Yup.
Oh,
Because
okay.
those extra syllables are time,
Yeah, and time is
and
money.
you don't want to waste time.
Modern day, let's see. So we have this idea of vibing, right? So if you're
Yes.
vibing with someone, that means that you're kind of getting along well together, right? So in some sense, I guess you could say vibrating at the same frequency or something
That's
like that.
interesting because it feels like vibing with somebody came onto the scene like relatively recently. I'd say
Yes.
like within the last year or so,
Yeah.
just from
So
my perspective.
so one source I looked at said that this word vibe and these kinds of usages was kind of at the height of its popularity in 2019, in fact.
Mm,
So it's a kind of an interesting term because we've changed it a bit, right? So no longer is it just about, feeling some kind of like positive healing energy, kind of energy of the universe from someone. It simply means that you are somehow like simpatico or something, right? So you have some kind of similar feel in that way.
mm.
We also have this other phrase of vibing, right? So if you're vibing, if you're just vibing, it kind of means you're, I don't know, how would you describe it? Are you familiar with the
I would
phrase vibing?
describe vibing as sitting on the couch with some very legal uh recreational substances. I also would say just vibing. I would say for Gen Z usage, because most legal substances to legal recreational substances, you have to be 21 or older to use. Um, it, I would imagine for a Gen Z kid, vibing out would just mean like listening to your favorite music with your buds.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And so to me, I think that's absolutely right. And to me, I think you kind of get the sense that you are just like receiving the energy, the vibrations of the experience that you're having, right?
That's a very metaphysical way to think about hanging out. I like that.
Yeah, but
From
and,
the
and
nihilist, no less.
and who knows? Well, I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm just saying that I'm putting those ideas in their mouth. And I guess that's kind of the thing is like, who knows to what extent is that really what they mean when they're saying it? Maybe not exactly,
Gen Z is a mystery.
Yeah, absolutely is to me for sure. But so one other kind of I see evolution of its meaning, and now I come to a song by primarily Two Chains, even though there's about four people on the song in total. I won't name them here. Called "It's a Vibe," and this song is actually from 2017, so it's possibly a little bit early, right? So it's a little bit
Mm.
in more the like kind of birth phases, inchoate phases of this concept of vibe as we use it today, right?
Yeah.
And so you listen to this song, and probably you notice like there's not a lot of different words in this song.
No, it's mostly it's a vibe.
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
vibe.
Yeah,
It's a
but
vibe.
with some little changes, right? So,
It's a
and
vibe.
I think it, in a way, it's a very interesting song. It's kind of like whenever you have
It's
an
a vibe.
experiment and you limit the independent variables down to like one, so you can kind of get some sense of the results of it. I think we see a lot of the ways in which vibe works through this song. So when
It's a
he says like
vibe.
when he's yeah, vibe. So when he says like it's a vibe or that's a vibe, what does he mean exactly? Because he's not saying like the same things that we were just talking about when we talk about vibing with somebody
Mhm.
or just vibing. He's saying it's a vibe, right? So he's giving some sense that some force generally is a vibe.
So I'm going to give this one a guess. And I only watched it one time and I did not like it. Um, but from my perspective, it looked like there were four different protagonists and four different ways to describe the way that they individually vibe. The first one being vibing at a fancy restaurant, the second one vibing at the club, The third one vibing because his girlfriend is um excited. And the final lady vibing because she's counting money and somebody's rubbing her feet. And honestly, that's a vibe.
But what do you mean when you say that's a vibe?
It means that I want to get with that energy.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I kind of feel that they're kind of trying to present here is this idea that whenever you talk about vibe now, you're talking in terms of the energy that you put out in a way where you're talking about how your persona, how yourself kind of has this influence, this ability to dominate and change a situation, you know.
So it's how you thrive best. Like the
It's
energies,
That's
frequencies
true,
that
but
you
it
individually.
it has a very, to me at least, it has a very
Mm.
similar concept of like clout, right? This idea that
Mm.
like my vibe is so strong that I am able to pull others to me, influence others, make others feel happy, make others like me, etc. I really think this is what he means when he says vibe.
Okay.
There's one viper where one viper, one viber, one rapper where he says simply like, "My vibe is the realest. I know you feel it." Right. So
Yes.
this sense that like he has such a strong aura or something like that that you can feel it, right? It kind of takes you. It's this idea of like a vampire's like glamour or something, you know.
What do they call that? Animal magnetism.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. But again, yeah, and I think that is a very close. And it's interesting to think,
Mhm.
okay, magnetism and vibrations, both kind of taking terms from science, making them kind of feel pseudo scientific in some way. Yeah.
Well, not even pseudoscientific. It's sometimes when you meet somebody and you have good chemistry with them, it's really it feels like a very physical pull. Like there are some people that genuinely have this intense charisma, and
Right,
I
but
know
it's
that
certainly not magnetism, you know.
yeah, charisma is my dump
Magnetism is a
stat.
very specific thing.
Mm.
So it's not exactly the science of magnetism is what I was saying, you know. It's
Oh, I gotcha.
like
Okay.
they're taking this word from science to make something seem more legit than it is. And actually that's a very interesting thing to talk about too, because you know, this idea of like animal magnetism,
Mhm.
this was one of the this principle, this pseudoscience was made by the same guy who invented chiropractic. And he, for
Oh,
him, it was literal. Like he thought he had this kind of magnetist, kind of spiritual magnetic power in his hands that he could use to like fix your back.
he was spiritual Magneto.
Yes, he has spiritual magneto
Did he
for
use
lower
this for
back pain.
evil or for good?
Oh, you be the judge. I'm really surprised like Sawbones hasn't done a chiropractic. I think maybe they figure it's too much of like a third rail because there's so many people who have a strong connection to it.
Well, they have talked about a homeopathy, but that's a digression.
Yeah, sure. And so I could go on and on about Vibe, especially this Two Chainz song, which I actually rather like. But let's stop there and let's hear
Of
about
course you
something
did.
different. So, do you have some more dads for me, real quick? You know, I don't have a dad
Yes.
myself, so I can take all the dads I can get.
Oh, okay. Tyson Ritter from the All American Rejects.
And just like my own dad, I don't know him. So, All American Rejects. Can you give me like a song they did or something? I feel like I'm so close to
All
knowing.
American Rejects, Dirty Little Secret,
Oh, sure. Okay.
Move Along. I'm trying to think. These are wow. I was literally singing All American Rejects in the car the other day. Um, uh, Tyson Ritter, he's Gives You Hell. That's I
Yeah,
think their
yeah,
most
I remember
recent
that
one.
one
Yeah.
more or less too. I'm gonna say he probably is a dad. I think he must be middle aged by now. He seems to, I don't know. He's not like a lazy guy, so I could see him kind of getting a life and getting established and having a
Mm.
family, being a head of a family. Sure, dad.
Oh, well, he is in fact not a dad.
Oh, dang it! I was doing so well too.
You
Why not?
were.
Did he say?
Why is he not a dad? Because some people don't want to be dads. Are you a dad? I'm not
No,
a dad.
No,
Some
I'm
people
not dad. I
don't
was
want
just
to be
curious. Maybe
dads.
he gave some reason, right?
I did not. If he gave a reason, I didn't ask. It's his business.
Okay, Mr. Ritter, if you're listening, contact us. Tell us, why do you hate kids?
Oh, how about Instinct's Lance Bass?
Okay, that's someone I know about. I've heard of this person. So so hard to say with these guys. Um, I think Lance Bass. I think he became like some kind of a like Christian fundamentalist guy later on. But I don't know why I even think this. But I'm gonna say yes, he is a dad.
Actually, he and his husband are expecting twins.
So I was
So not
right,
a
but
dad
for all the
yet,
wrong
but they're
reasons.
very close.
Okay, so let's hear. What do you say? You want to hear about La Di Da? No.
Yes, let's do Lottie Die.
Great. I've
I'm
been
dying
waiting
to
so
tap
long.
into this rich, rich vein.
Same.
Alrighty. So, our story, Russell, begins. I want you to follow me to 1850s England. Okay? 1850s England.
Okay, I'm there.
The
Is
most
I guess probably
popular.
Fred Durst's great great grandfather is there with us since he's from Liverpool
Yes,
himself.
it smells like Fred Durst's grandfather.
Aha,
There
yeah,
are babies everywhere,
now I'm
and they are named
immersed.
things like William and Mary.
Got it.
And the most popular dessert is suet pudding in different types. So, in this environment, we are talking about a very. We're going to start with a misrepresentation of the word lordy. And lordy is going to be perverted into the word lardy just because of dialect and because of regional accents. So that's how we're going to start off the 1850s. And now we're going to take that bit of context and talk about something called the reduplicated phrase. Now, um, when I say reduplicated phrase, this is something that is very common, and it's difficult to talk about the history of it because it's something that we still do today. Uh, can you think of any examples?
I mean, I guess we say like bye bye or night night. Is
Bye
this
bye,
something like
night
this?
night. Those are not necessarily reduplications. Those are just repetitions.
Okay, so what is a
So,
reduplication?
reduplicated phrases are slang that are one word followed by a similar sounding word just added for emphasis. So, words like fuddy duddy or itty bitty, ditty gritty.
Like tidy whities, right?
Exactly, like
Uh,
tidy whities.
I got it.
So it's a very common thing. I know I say okie dokie all the time. Flanders is a great example of reduplicated phrases. Hi-ly ho,
Sure.
neighborino.
Has a
Mhm.
real dad vibe himself.
It sure does, and that's why I love La Di Da in this song. Just which, granted, is not a great song, but
Well, I don't know
uh,
about that. I don't
okay.
know who made you the arbiter of great songs.
It's true. I don't really actually like music very much, so I will absolutely happily allow anybody else to be the judge of that.
So if you don't like music and you really don't like this song, it probably means it's like really the musicality is like exceptionally high, right?
I mean,
But logically, it makes sense, don't you think?
I guess
Checkmate,
I
Hannah.
you I damn it. Podcast over. Everything is solved.
I think
So
this is like a Goodwill Hunting situation where we're trying to like cure you of something.
I know. Oh my god. Oh, you're curing me of my pedantry. I love it.
It's not your fault, Hannah. It's not your fault, Hannah.
um.
So,
Oh, by the way, do you know what the most popular activity was in 1850s England? Like recreation activity?
uh, dipping your biscuit in tea until it gets just a little limp.
Almost. I wrote down waiting 40 years for the radio to be invented. This was a long, long time ago.
Wow, yeah. What did they listen to? How did they listen to their like dad rap songs before radio? It's unimaginable. So this song "Lottie Da," this word "Lottie Da," so it means something like "lordy," right? Like "oh Lord" or
Yeah.
something like that. And in what context did they use it?
So, a la-di-da comes from a reduplicated phrase, lardy-dardy. Now, the
Way better. Why didn't we stick with that?
lardy-dardy is still in usage to a lesser extent
I'm so glad.
in some areas of the UK. It is very much a la-di-da, lardy-dardy.
Lardy. No, you can't say it with like a highfalutin accent like
I
that. No one's
can.
going lardy dardy. It's
No,
just is like
it's probably usually said like with a cock, lardy-dardy.
this is like the Ermagerd Gersberms of their day, you know?
Ermagerd.
Lardy
Um,
dardy. It's definitely something the Swedish chef or whatever his name is on the Muppets would say.
Ermagerd. Lardy-dardy.
Lardy dardy.
Lardy-dardy. So lardy-dardy, you would think that lardy would mean something like fatty. I know that suet cakes were the most popular desserts back then, and
Uh-huh.
suet is just, I don't know if you know this, but from Great British Bake Off, but suet is just animal fat, you guys. That's a disgusting favorite
Pretty bad. Yeah.
favorite dessert.
Mhm.
I will put that flag in the ground and I will die on this hill. If
I
your
don't think you
favorite
have to.
dessert is suet, then you have not tried a proper dessert.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the things we eat are just kind of like fat and sugar put together. You know, it's why they can make like a fake, like a Cool Whip without any dairy, and it doesn't make any difference for us. You know, all you need is the fat and the sugar.
Don't you taint my Cool Whip. I love Cool Whip.
Yeah. See.
Um, so it's Lardy Darty. It was first published in the year 1849.
Okay.
So it was published, and I did write this down because I have a point. It was published in Lacey's acting edition of plays, dramas, farces, and extravagances, which is a hell of a title. And proof that in the 1840s and 50s that people just really did not care about titling their books anything snappy. They were just like, let's put it all on the page and they'll just pick it up. It was used in the context of something that is highfalutin, hoity-toity, but in an ironic way. So we're talking about lordies and ladies behind their backs as like, oh gosh,
Ah.
what a stick up their bums.
So they're saying like it's like, and just to be clear, so you're saying that this word lardy they're taking to mean from Lord, from Lordy. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, it
So
is a
so it's saying
perversion
like
of the word lord.
it's something like a lord would do or lord
Mhm,
would wear or something. But ironically, yeah.
mhm. So
Hmm.
Lacey says, quote, one of those haw-haw fellows who used to hang around you, lardy-dardy, poisoning the atmosphere with their pomady.
Hmm.
Pomady being a very pungent pomade for your hair at the time.
Sure, sure.
Now, I did make a very special note of this because I don't know if you noticed, but um, that is in 1849 canon in the American English canon, well, British English canon, uh, a gender neutral they.
Oh,
Boom!
sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, it's been around for a super long time. Just I think we've just started to make a big fuss about it. But yeah, lots of
Mhm.
situations where how do
Yeah.
you know, what else would you even say, you know?
If you're citing tradition as a reason to have a problem with my siblings' pronouns, you're doing it wrong.
Lardy
Okay.
dar to you, sir or madam.
My favorite usage of the phrase "lardy da" and "lardy darty" is actually from a song from the book House Scraps in 1883, which is a much punchier name, and I approve. Uh, Are you ready for this? I'm
Sure,
going
let's
to
hear it.
do an affectation. La-di-da, la-di-do. He's a well-known old Adonis. La-di-da, la-di-do. You may tell it by his nose. La-di-da, la-di-do. For the color all his own is. It's a pleasing combination of the beetroot and the rose.
I think that could very easily be set to like the music of the Monster Mash. It really has that feel to it.
I love the Monster Mash. It's the only good song.
So now we know.
um,
Now we know our polls here. We've got "It's a Vibe" by 2 Chainz on one side, and we've got the Monster Mash on the other side.
so that untitled song from House Scraps, "La Di Da La Di Do," you may tell it by his nose, for the color all his own is. It's a pleasing combination of the beetroot and the rose, which is a reference to makeup,
Mm.
something that only really the highfalutin gentlemen of the era ever had.
So is he
Even
putting blush on his nose, or is he missing his nose with the powder that he's
oh
putting
no, he's
everywhere
he's
else
coloring his nose with the
to be
beetroot
red?
and rose. Yeah. Mhm.
It's an interesting look. I never thought like a red nose was something desirable.
Now, I believe that this is written in complete irony. This is meant, from my perspective, from a reader's perspective, and from, I believe, a performer's perspective at this point. It is talking about a very ironic sort of guy, somebody who thinks that by putting on makeup, they're being very
Sure, sure.
highfalutin and high
Gotcha.
class, but doing it completely wrong by just
Gotcha.
coloring his
It's like
nose.
the pretty fly for a white guy of its day, right? It's a song about like this guy who's just totally clueless, thinks he's really cool, or like the dad vibes of its day. It's this Fred Durst who's kind of owning himself unintentionally, acting like making these lines about how he's so cool, but really he's just like putting like red makeup on his face, like he's a clown.
Yeah, you can take a sip from my drip, children.
Yes, yes, Fred Durst. Yeah, yeah, great.
Yes. So I don't. I'm sure you can guess, but there was a steady decline in usage from the 1880s down to now. Let's hop back in the time machine. 1977.
Hmm.
The most popular dessert is the 7-Up cake. There are babies everywhere named things like Michael and Jennifer. It is 1977, and the coolest woman in the world, Diane Keaton, says in the movie Annie
Mm.
Hall, la di da, la di da, la la.
And what seems to be her intention in saying it? Like, what do
Uh,
you think she's trying to convey?
Self effacement. It is a scene in which she is incredibly attracted to Woody Allen for some reason. Um, again, Woody Allen. We're talking. He's dressed in his tennis whites, very short shorts with his polo shirt tucked into his
Mhm,
short shorts with his high socks. So we're talking real peak 1977 Woody Allen
mhm.
slash dad vibes. Um,
Is he giving dad vibes there? Is he a
he's
dad? I
giving
think he's not trying
something.
to give dad vibes.
He married his daughter, so it's really it could be either.
I don't think that's dad vibes either. I think that's
I would argue
that's an
that's a
affront to
really
dads everywhere to say that that is in and of itself dad vibes.
yeah. I would say that's a bad dad.
Yeah, I don't
So
think Limp Bizkit even deserves that kind of association.
Limp Bizkit, get at us and tell us your feelings on Woody Allen marrying his daughter.
No,
Um,
please never talk to us, Limp Bizkit.
so it's meant to be in a self-effacing kind of
Uh-huh.
way.
But
Like
it's so
she
so and does it
is.
still have any of the sense of, like, she's self-effacing, like, something that she said to, like, kinda lampshade this, saying something pretentious? Almost like,
Mhm.
"Pardon my French," in some way.
More like it's a scene in which she tries to get Woody Allen to come home, to come drive in her car home from the tennis club with her.
Mhm.
And she makes a couple of blunders, like, "Hey, do you have a car? Can I ride with you? Oh, I don't have a car. Oh, but I have a car. You can ride with me if you want." Like, really, it's meant
This
to
is really complicated.
emphasize, yeah, like how awkward she is at flirting.
Ah, okay.
And
So it seems like probably it's lost completely its original kind of the sense of to mark that something is highfalutin or pretentious or putting on airs, and now it's carried on only the sense of like as you say, self-effacement, right?
mhm. It's definitely a phrase that, in its modern context, is not without any sort of irony in my eyes. I don't think anybody has ever said la di da in a completely sincere way in my lifetime.
I feel like I've heard it on Seinfeld or something from Elaine to to mean something a bit like the original of like oh putting on airs, oh so fancy, like
Ooh, so
this
la
idea
di
of
da.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
oh Queen of England over here, oh Fred Durst's grandfather over here, oh la di da. But well, for me, I guess if something that I probably should have really put a lot of thought into is like before you explained all this, what would I have said if someone came to me and said, "Okay, what does la di da mean?" I think I would just say, "I don't know." I mean, I think it's just kind of something you say to be silly, just kind of the same way you would say like "do to do" or whatever. You know, it's like something feels a little musical, maybe. I don't know. I really had no strong idea about it. Like, what about you? Like before researching it?
La di da, I would say ditzy.
Mm,
Ditzy is the first thing that comes to mind, which that's probably because we came in at the end of Annie Hall. Annie Hall rebranded it as this sort of ditzy phrase.
sure, makes a lot of sense. And what about when Fred Durst uses it? What do you think "la di da" means to him? What is he trying to convey in the song by saying "la di da"?
When Fred Durst says la di da, um, I think that. All right, this is an etymological podcast. We talk about it and we talk to death about uh, music and lyrics, and you can cut this part up. When Fred Durst says "la di da," I'm so sorry. I just picture irony. It feels very, very ironic, and I think that's why I don't hate this song in its entirety, because it does have that very ironic sort of hey, this is what cool dads do. Look, I'm gonna pretend to be a cool dad.
Ah, so you think he's in on it? You think he knows all the things he's saying here, are, like really like over the top, like someone trying to be cool, and he knows he's not.
I
He
think
knows
he's
he's
in
not
on the
sincere
joke.
about these things.
I do think he's in on the joke. Yeah.
I think in some way maybe he's in on the joke, but I think he's in on this joke the way that all of these kind of ironic post irony performers are, where it's kind of like they're being ironic and they're being sincere at the same time. It's
Mm.
like he put on this toupee. Did you see the photos of him with the toupee or the wig or
He
whatever?
wears a wig?
No, I sent these to you. You just don't look at them.
You did
Yeah,
not
yeah, I
send
sent them
me
to you like
anything,
twice.
mister.
Google Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Google Fred Durst wig, actually.
Well, that is a hat that he usually wears. Fred Durst wig.
Mhm.
Oh my god, there is no way that's a sincere wig.
Well, that's the point. It's like he's wearing this, and supposedly it's like a joke. He doesn't really say, but I think that he's wearing on multiple occasions, and it's kind of part of his look or whatever. Now, I think there's this kind of thing where it's like you can exist in this space of, oh, I'm just doing this to be funny, but actually, secretly I
Hmm.
look way better with the wig on, so I'm going to keep wearing the wig. I think that the same way a song like this, it's like he's saying, "Oh, I know this is just I'm just saying this to be funny or whatever. Actually, isn't this also like a really good song? Isn't it? Aren't I like really cool at the same time? Because we all think we're really cool, And so I think that it has this kind of bothness, this like post irony bothness to it
Like the
that
Monster Mash, how it's both a comedic genius song and a musically genius song.
yeah, yeah, exactly, just like this song. And so it's like vibing on two levels, right? Vibrating, creating its own harmony in that way, right?
I love that.
But all that being said, me personally, I think Fred Durst, just like me, we're kind of like spiritual brothers, uncle, nephews, whatever, in this kind of great like new age spiritual world in which we all inhabit.
Vibration.
Yes, and I think just like me, he probably just didn't know what live dom
He was just looking for a filler.
is. Yes, yes. In fact, I think it's something he said before in songs, but I did not look it up to see.
Oh.
But so that being said, and time getting short, you want to talk about our Eurovision song?
Yes, let's talk about our Eurovision song. Our Eurovision song was The Roop's Discotheque from Lithuania. Now,
Yes.
if you had to guess how The Roop's discotheque placed, Russell, how do you think we did in the Eurovision finals?
I think that this song was a very Eurovision song. And I think it's a
Mm,
very good Eurovision song. It's like this style of song where it's fun, it's high energy, it's not it's campy, but at the same way it seems a little sincere. Again, getting into that weird post irony zone. But I think it's a little safe. It's like I think the best Eurovision songs are weirder. And so I think this song probably just landed somewhere in the middle.
Oh, okay. You will be pleased to know that it ranked eighth place overall in the finals
And
with a
that's out of
whole total. Oh, yeah.
how
Out
many?
of 26. 26.
Okay, so it's somewhere in the upper third, right? But
Oh,
not
yeah.
exactly the top. Okay. Yeah,
It
that's
turns
a
out
great
that
place
Europe
for
was really vibing with
it.
it.
Yeah.
It gained 220 points, which we still don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's like whose line is it anyway? The points don't really matter.
So tell us about Discotheque. Tell us about how you loved it.
Well, I actually really did enjoy the song. Would I ever listen to it again? Probably not. But, like most Eurovision songs, without the video, it's really nothing very impactful. I would say maybe Dathi Freyr is the only exception to that, but even them much better when you can see what they're doing. But this
Mhm.
song, it's a very simple song, obviously about going to the discotheque. Sounds good, nothing very special about it. Visually, it's like they just make up a simple dance that they do. They're all wearing matching yellow uniforms in the part that I saw. I appreciate that the main guy is unashamedly bald as opposed to our Fred Durst all tour
Who is
from earlier.
ashamedly bald.
Yeah, he's but to be
Come on,
very
Fred
fair,
Durst.
I think shame is the appropriate emotion for Fred Durst to feel.
He is Limp Bizkit does not convey a whole lot of confidence.
Pride, self-worth.
Pride.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's great.
Mm.
How about you? Did you like the song?
I did, and it's. I will correct you. It doesn't seem to be so much going to the discotheque as it's okay to dance alone. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
dance at home. This is my discotheque.
But
My
yet he's
discotheque is
dancing.
anywhere.
Yeah, he's dancing with other people in the
I know, but
performance.
they're all in their own little world. And to that end, I know that I mentioned to you, Russ plays a Furbolg in one of our campaigns named Hercules Mulligan, who is an absolute treasure, and we love him.
That's my
Um,
fursona, but by fur I mean Furbolg, which is a race in D&D for anyone who is not incredibly nerdy.
I mean, they're listening to an etymological pop
That's
music
a very good point.
podcast. It's pretty safe bet that they've played D&D once
Yeah,
or
that
twice.
that Venn diagram is definitely just one circle for sure.
But the bearded dancer in the shorts is exactly how I picture Hercules Mulligan.
Yeah, not that
Just
far off. Not that far
yeah,
off.
with bigger ears
Mm,
and like more of a cow kind of complexion and
mm.
taller, obviously because fur bulk, but that whole in his own world dancing, really feeling his own vibes. Really, that's exactly how I picture Hercules Mulligan.
Yeah, he's vibing very hard. They all are. Do you think this is
Hmm.
like a COVID song? Like this idea of like dancing alone? And you mentioned they're very
Ooh.
spaced out on their stage
That's so
performance.
true because Eurovision 2020 had to be postponed to 2021 in order to because of COVID. So it's very very possible that I missed that on the first pass. Ross, you are making music rich and wonderful.
See, I'm such a great textual analyst. So, speaking of analysts, actually, this is the craziest segue to what I was going to talk about. But so notice how we have this word analyst, we have a word
Mhm,
analysis, we have a word
mhm.
analyze, right? So what we hear mainly between these different forms of the same word is a vowel
Anal.
change, right? So we
Mm,
have analyst, but we have analyze, and then we have analysis, where again this vowel where the sound is shifts. The sounds we use shift, and this is a characteristic of this, as we talked about many times, this Proto-Indo-European language system that carries through in some ways into the Germanic languages, into English. We see this very often in our irregular verbs, right?
mhm.
So drink, drank, drunk, right?
Yeah, yeah. Why is that?
Well, this was a very big part of the languages that existed that eventually evolved into languages that we have today, like French, Italian, English, the Germanic languages, Sanskrit, and the
Sure.
languages that come from Sanskrit. Sorry, I'm not an Indian scholar. I don't know what those languages are. And so Lithuanian, though, actually is a very important language for linguists because this is the language that is the most closely connected to and the least changed from this original Proto-Indo-European language.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, and so one of the most important factors, or one of the most interesting factors about it, is whereas a language like French, like Spanish, Italian, these languages, of course, grew from Latin.
Mhm.
Lithuanian, on the other hand, did not. This is from a Baltic language tree or arm of the tree. Greek is also from this language as well, but Greek has had a lot more changes. So oftentimes, scholars will look at Lithuanian as a language to look back and see, okay, you know, how much has changed, what has changed, what was this old language like? And this vowel shift thing, it was actually a very big part of these uh, early languages that in Latin, not so much, right? Latin, they didn't
Mhm.
need these vowel shift changes because they had a lot more suffixes, right? So they would change in a suffix, not to say that these languages that Lithuanian came from did not, but it was a much bigger part of the language of Latin. So a lot of these Romance languages don't see so many vowel shifts. So that's why in English we have some Germanic words a bit closer to this older language, a bit further removed from Latin, where we do
Mhm.
still have a vowel shift in various reasons, mostly for our irregular verbs. But in most other words that come from French, usually, we don't so much, you know.
Wow, I had never actually thought about that, but that is really, really interesting.
And so, one thing we can see from this is we can notice the words that Lithuanian and Sanskrit and Latin share, right? So
Mhm.
these are the words that definitely all came from one root language, right? Because they're in these three of these main branches.
Sure.
So I will tell you the word. You just tell me what you think it is. You don't have to try too
Ooh.
hard. Some are easy to guess, some are not, right? So the word is soonest.
Soonest. I'm gonna say sun.
Yes, son is in child, exactly. The male son,
Oh.
soonest. So this came from outside of Latin because I think Latin, although I don't actually have the word in my head now, there's a very different word for son. So I guess son in Spanish is hijo, so probably somehow from the same root. But hijo,
Mhm.
of course, very different word from soonest, so we can assume.
Okay.
Um, Avis or ovis.
Egg, isn't it?
That's a good guess and does make a lot of sense, but this is actually the word for sheep, and we get a word like ovine, right? So we have
Oh.
bovine, equine, and ovine for sheep, right?
Okay.
A word fumus.
Fumus. Is that okay? I want to say fire.
Yeah, more or less, right? So fumes or smoke, of
Okay.
course. Uh, let's see. Looking for some others that are a bit easier to guess here.
No, give me the difficult ones. I want to be wrong.
That's a very strange impulse that I will not indulge you in. I will not enable your your self effacement. La di da, you know. That would
Marty
be so
Darty, right?
crazy if like it turned out la di da was a Lithuanian word. It's actually that old.
Oh, a Lithuanian import. It would have all come together. We
Uh,
have to go deeper.
Veer or Vire, VIR,
Veer.
different formats.
Hmm. Uh, would that have anything to do with vibe?
No, unfortunately not. That would be so great. But no, Veer is man. And so
Oh.
we don't have that so much in English. We have a word virile, right? Or virile, which means
Oh.
manly in some context. Um,
Okay.
and actually, our word werewolf as well. This comes through the German, but of course, werewolf meant something like wolfman, right? This were here
Oh.
comes from the same veer root.
That makes sense. That makes total I love it when things connect like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I
Sorry.
don't have a great wrap up for that, but that is the or let me give you a couple more here. So Ignis or something like that.
Ignis is definitely fire.
Sure, fire or ignition, something like that. We have this word ignite
Mm.
now. Noctis,
Night.
of course, is night. Dentist,
This dentist.
of course, is dental or teeth related, right?
Teeth.
Gentis.
Old, isn't it?
Sorry, what?
Old, isn't it? Like nope.
No,
Gener
it's just generally like people.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah. In Spanish, you have like gente. In Latin, you had gentes. Here, we get this word gentle, which similar to Lord again. So gentle, in its original meaning, just meant like someone of high birth, because we have this idea of gentility or whatever, connected
Ooh,
to
real
birth.
quick, make a reduplicated phrase with the word gentle or with a gentle kind of slang.
Gentle lentil. It's another way of saying cool beans. Gentle
Love that.
lentils, man.
All right,
Okay,
you ready for one more dad fact?
yeah, let's hear one more dad. So this is another guess to dad.
Yes, My Chemical Romance has Gerard Way and Mikey Way.
That's so great, Mikey Way.
I
I'm
know,
gonna
right?
say that Mikey Way is not a dad because he's like, just from the name, I think he's like perpetually like 16 years old, and the other guy I think has adopted Mikey Way and is now Mikey Way's father.
Oh, no, they are both dads
Ah,
and they
dang,
are uncles to each other's children.
Hannah, just who is Fred Durst's secret child who will not be named for this song?
Will not be named. I'm gonna name him right now. I'm picturing Malcolm from Malcolm in the Middle.
Ah, yeah, Frankie Muniz. Yeah, I think it really makes sense because they have kind of the same name if you like squint, when you're listening to
Frankie
the names.
Muniz, Fred Durst.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sort of like. I mean, I can't picture either of them when I close my eyes.
Speaking of closing our eyes, now it's time for you to close your eyes because that's the end of this here podcast, and you should all get some rest. Thank you
And
very
also
much.
listen to Dungeons and Daddies because that is an Aces podcast.
Yeah, listen to Dungeons and Daddies. Get with us. Tell us what you thought about it. And I've been Russell Perkle.
I've been Hannah.
And this is Pop Etymology. See you next time.